In case anyone's wondering why I do so many requests for Peter Benavente, is because he pays up front for each review individually through a PayPal account, which is crazy to me. And also because he picks a lot of movies I own. And because you guys know I don't have the internet right now, I'm having a lot of patron requests of films that I cannot watch unless I'm at work. And when I've been at work lately, I've been busy and I haven't been able to watch almost anything. So every time someone requests something, it's like, I hope I own it, because if I don't, it's going to take a good amount longer. So I'm trying to get to those requests that are online, but without the internet, it is really, really hard. So anyway, Dead Silence. This is something that I've wanted to talk about on the channel for a while, just because the James Wan and Leigh Whannell collaboration, much like Saw and Insidious. So these guys obviously work pretty damn well together. And I think they also did, I know Wan did Death Sentence, but I don't remember if Leigh wrote that. But I know that Leigh went off and directed Insidious 3 and Upgrade, which I loved both. So he's quite a director himself. So anytime that Wan or Whannell is involved in a project, I'm absolutely going to be there. That said, I don't think I saw... Wait, did I see Fast and the Furious 7? I think I did. I don't know. I didn't see the 8th one. But, Anyway, if you can't tell, I have the most horrid allergies right now. My eyes are like bloodshot. My nose is so raw. All of my face is like dried out, and I'm dying. Not only have this rib where I fractured my rib yesterday, but I'm also like, my eyes are fucking just, I want to scratch them out of my head. The more I touch them, it hurts so bad. So if I look like shit, that's why. I'm sure people think I'm on cocaine or some shit like usual. But yeah, I fucking wish that's what it was, to be honest. That would be a hell of a lot more fun, but there you go. So, you get me in real time as always. All right. Oh, and that said, with all that, James Wan and what Leigh Whannell talk, I'm very much looking forward to Saw 9 or Spiral, the Book of Saw. So I think that comes out. They pushed it all the way up to May. Like pushed it up. They almost never do that. That was supposed to be released in October. I don't know what to think of that. Like, that was going to be their cash cow, but now they're moving it up to like summer. I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. Does that mean they have faith in it, or does that mean they have less faith in it? I don't know what to make of that. Anyways, all right, so let's talk about Dead Silence, starring Slappy from Goosebumps. Of course, that's what I think of when I watch this. Mary Shaw. Now, Mary Shaw, when she's in this film, at first just kind of looks very typical, especially Juan. Like, Juan has a pretty recognizable style. But when she smiles in this movie and she's like coming at the screen, she's like, it's fucking creepy. Like, I was really impressed by how eerie her smile was and whatnot. So I really dug that. It's been a long time since I've seen this. And of course I remember the big twist at the end. So I was really looking for the cues. I was really looking for anything, because I was just complaining when I just did this high tension review that the twist actually hurts the movie drastically for me, as to where this one, I feel like it elevates the movie. Now, I've seen some people claim that the twist in this movie is idiotic, and okay, sure. It works for me. It doesn't work for you. Oh well, what could you do? But I think it's pretty damn awesome, and it's when you see it, it's really like obvious, and you wonder how you missed it, kind of thing. With her sitting behind him like that the whole time, you're like, how he just looks like a ventriloquist dummy the whole damn movie. So I'm sure there are people who did guess that throughout, but I did not. And good stuff. So they get the doll in the opening, and I want to say that this movie kind of reminds me of like Annabelle, except for it's Annabelle times 101. 101 puppet mations. You've got 101 dolls that she can live in, but of course we find out that there's more than those 101 dolls, and that she ends up making the perfect doll that looks exactly like a human being. But what this kind of reminds me of is the Annabelle movie, which is of course ironic since James Wan started the Conjuring universe films, and Annabelle is part of that. And that's another one where the dolls are just a conduit for evil spirits, as is, instead of the typical killer doll movie. Because when you look at Dead Silence, you think this is going to be a killer ventriloquist dummy doll, kind of like Slappy from Goosebumps, but more adult. And it's not. It's an old woman who was wronged, and she wants to right those wrongs through revenge on family after family, after generation, and she can do so through possessing said dolls. Those are her dolls. Now, I'm assuming who's digging these dolls up and all of this, because now she has mobility. She has the ability to walk around. Now, I don't know if this is because I guess I'm kind of answering my own question in my head. I was going to say, why is it that Mary is able to control the woman, the woman puppet completely? Arms, legs, facial expressions, skin, the whole thing. But the puppets, the ventriloquist dummies, she can't do anything but turn their heads and open their mouths. And that's about it. But I guess a ventriloquist dummy like that is only made to move its head and its mouth. So the inner workings are different. So I guess that kind of answers my question and resolves a little bit of an issue I had. But there you go. Solved it in real time. The look of the dead after they've been killed. This reminds me of something out of like a J-horror, a Japanese horror flick. The mouth is all slack-jawed. Now, I will say where that is most effective is in the dead bodies that are in the pictures that the mortician has. The mortician shows them all the photos of the families, and their mouths are all hung open and everything. For some reason, those shots are much more creepy. The one of his wife in the opening, the one of Jamie's wife in the opening, it looks like digitally altered. It looks CG or something, and I don't like the look of it aesthetically. It's just unappealing. It looks off. It just takes you out of the moment. It doesn't feel eerie because it just looks not great. But the ones in the pictures, they do look great, and they're fucking freaky. So that, I was more into the still image than his wife who's sitting there with her mouth ripped open. But I do like the idea behind essentially what I could take from it. Now I have a DVD, so this isn't like 4K quality, but it looks like the tongue that comes out of Mary Shaw's mouth is just a collection of separate tongues all strung together to make this one long tongue that she can kind of whip out, which is a really cool idea. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, a long tongue, lame. Like, that's just lame. But when I was looking closer and I saw that there was many different textures to it, I was like, is that a collection of everyone's tongues all put together within her mouth so that she can throw their voices, use their voices, have the ability to because when people scream, she snatches their voice, she snatches their scream, she snatches, you know, their voice, as I said, and I love that idea. I love that the ventriloquist dummy is somebody who throws their voice, makes their voice sound like somebody else. She wants revenge from people who made her scream, and she's going to steal their screams, but she takes on their voices, and then she literally takes their tongues and adds it to the collection that she's accumulating on her own tongue that's now extended. I love that. That's cool stuff. And it's not explicitly said, but you just kind of figure it out, and I dig that, man. I really did like that about it when I was looking at the tongues and all that. I was like, oh, hell yeah. So I dig that. It's been a long time since I've watched this. The puppet's name in this is Billy, so Billy the puppet, just like in Saw. That's cute. Detective Matthews, I don't know what his actual name is in this, but Detective is played by Donnie Wahlberg. So he plays a very similar character to Detective Eric Matthews in this. He's constantly shaving. I don't know how fast this guy's 5 o'clock shadow grows, but it seems to be pretty damn regular. He also breaks into the motel room of a suspect, follows him around, and digs up graves after he's left the site, after he's left the scene. I don't know. The detective's motives and the detective's story in this movie felt very inorganic. They felt wrong. They didn't feel legitimate. Like, I felt like I was watching something extremely fictional. He didn't act like a normal detective in the slightest throughout this film, and it annoyed me a little bit. Not enough to where I was like not enjoying it, but I was like, why would he be doing this? Why would he follow him to this town? Why would he be breaking it? Why would he dig up all 101 graves? They actually pan back, and he's opened up. He says they've all been taken. After about 15, even after 5, you would be like, okay, there probably no more. 10 for sure, but he has like 40 that we can see, and he does say outright all 101. He dug up all 101 little mini coffins. Come on. A detective who's trying to solve this case is going to go out there and dig up 101 graves by himself, mind you. There's no one in this movie either. Even though the scale is larger than Saw, the cast count really isn't. So, you've got multiple locations. You've got this really cool set piece where it's this abandoned theater, and there's like this big chasm with like water filled throughout, and you have to get across the elements to get there, and then you get inside, and I love the settings, but it's still somehow, even though it's been opened up and there's these elaborate sets and everything, everything feels very intimate and small scale because there's only like 6 characters in the whole movie. Like, you really don't meet anyone in the film. Then the whole idea of like all the sound being sucked out of the room when Mary is around, like she essentially absorbs sound. That's what her presence does. That's how she steals voices, or she has the ability to steal sound. So I guess that explains how things become, wait for it, dead silent. Although the title is Dead Silence, but that wouldn't have worked for that setup, but there you go. But that's, yeah, I mean, she sucks the sound out of the room. I need a woman who can suck the sound out of my room. And let's see. I already said all that stuff. Yeah. I already said all that shit. This is why I need to stick to my notes so I don't just look back through them as I'm sitting here. I'll tell you the coroner or the mortician, his wife Marion, I'm guessing has some kind of dementia. She's maybe got sundowners. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but man, that's love. This chick like disappears into the crawl space at night and whatnot. And he has to like crawl in there to get her and keeps taking care of her after she's well beyond what would be manageable. I mean, maybe that's wrong. Maybe you shouldn't have her out like that. Maybe she needs more help than he's able to give her, but regardless, his intentions are noble, and that is absolutely love that he has for her. So when I was watching this, I was watching their relationship, I was like, man, like, would you take care of your partner in that state? A lot of you might jump to yes, but would you? I don't know. I want to believe I would, but I'd have to get a damn partner first. I might be that old by the time I find one. So, and yeah, we talked about that. Love so they do the flashback story where they show the kid and he heckles her, and then she comes and kills this kid, and then when they find his body and he's all strung up like freaking Pinocchio, before his "There's No Strings on Me" song, and his eyelids are missing and his eyes are protruding, and then it like actually stands up in the room when they're trying to run out of there, and that's creepy shit too. Love the look of the dead puppet kid. Great stuff there. So the detective learns that he can't scream either. Of course, he's the only alibi that Jamie would have. So it kind of sucks that he dies, but Jamie dies as well, so it doesn't really matter. But the detective falls from the rafters, and he's like falling to his death. And as he's falling, he screams out because he's falling to his death. And then as he's falling and screaming, Mary comes in and snatches his voice and breaks, rips his tongue out, breaks his jaw, and before he can even hit the ground. That just seems so unfair. He's not even screaming at her. So she could just like hang out in a scary movie theater or, maybe on a porno set and just start snatching everyone's voice who's screaming, whether it's fake or not. And yeah, the wife was a perfect doll. I mean, a lot of people are ordering real dolls these days. But so that's, I beg to differ on what's the perfect doll. And then she was Mary all along, and she's able to throw her voices on the phone and throughout because she snatched everyone's voice in town. That's great stuff, man. So she's not only possessing this as a doll, but then she's using this dude's father as a doll. And when you see that reveal, it's cool shit, man. When he pulls him back and he has the little rod inside of him and whatnot. Love it. I love that. That's such a fun twist ending that you should see coming, and a lot of us didn't. And so it's like a puppet, like a perfect doll puppet that's manipulating this man like a puppet, much like a trophy wife would from behind the scenes as he's kind of dying and she's waiting for his fortune. So it kind of goes along with what he thinks of her, I'm sure, when she opens the door. But yeah, she's a puppet, he's a puppet, and you're a fucking puppet. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, all right. So thank you to Peter Benavente for Benavente for yet another request and patron donations. I appreciate that. Of course, if you want to check out the Patreon, blah, 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 you know what how it is. Adios.